All right, everybody, welcome to Outstanding Balance, Episode 7, Predictive Analytics. What is predictive analytics? So predictive analytics is using data and analytics to basically look at things that have happened in history and predict the future. What is this good for? Stacking your production per hour. This is how you become the most productive dentist in America, like Dr. Bruce Baird. You use a little bit of business school and apply it to your dental school knowledge, and this is how you get to be on the top of the totem pole. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Baird. We're going to talk about one of our most requested topics.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's something that, when we start talking predictive analytics, I don't know how many of you had a great course on business in dental school, but my guess is you may not have. And so we get these questions a lot. So when I start looking at a dental practice, I kind of look at it a little bit differently. And I will tell you, predictive analytics has made such an amazing difference for me as far as my ability to be able to be a good leader in the practice. And I'll go back, and I've talked about it in previous times, but one of the things that happens when you don't understand your business is you get on the dental roller coaster. And the dental roller coaster is 1 month you do really good and you're happy. And the next month, and when I'm just basically talking production and collection, and we happen to get from our accountants, let's just say it's February, and we get February's P&L and all the information, we actually get that the end of March, So we thought we had a good month. Then we look at our P&L and we go, oh gosh, maybe it wasn't as good as I thought. So my issue with working with CPAs, and it's not anything that they can do, anything wrong with it. It's just how they work. I mean, they're going to send you your results, but you're always looking in the rearview mirror to see how you did. And this roller coaster is, we had a good month 1 month, and what happens is we're happy, and I go to meetings and I spend money because I got money. So everything's good. Next month, we don't have a good collections month or whatever, and I'm down. A couple big cases canceled, so now I'm down. And then the next month we go up, and then the next month we go down, and we manage based on this false narrative that we think we did good 1 month, and we think we did, we had a bad month, when in fact there are ways that you can strategically plan every month to be a certain way, to produce at a certain level. For me, when I was stressed about the dental practice, I was not a very good boss, because I knew we were running behind. We had bills to pay, and, I wasn't a rich guy, man. I, had a lot of debt, and I'm sitting here going, gosh, how am I going to pay the bills? And so kind of my alter ego would come out, and I told people I was a definite boss hole until I learned predictive analytics. And when I say I learned it, I began to pay attention to how can I look to the future. And it really is about looking to the past. How have we been doing? And so let me explain what predictive analytics is in a dental practice. It's something that actually your CPA will actually like. It actually may reduce your bill with them a little bit. They won't like that because you're going to have so much data and statistics that you're handling on your own. So what we did in our practice, and then we started doing this 23, 24 years ago. And we started QuickBooks. We just simply opened a QuickBooks account. Now we do QuickBooks online, so I can do it from any computer. But we began to put in our chart of accounts. Now, it's not a chart of accounts that maybe your accountant has, but what I would tell your accountant is, you work for me, change your chart of accounts. In other words, I want something that says dental supplies. I want something that says implant supplies. I want things broken down on my on my QuickBooks that tells me exactly where we've spent money. I don't like miscellaneous categories, and neither do accountants. They're going to find a place to put it. So nothing is miscellaneous. I don't want to see here's $400 for miscellaneous. There's $400 for an air conditioner repair that you didn't know. Well, that's building maintenance. So it goes there. And when you first start doing this, it's not something you're going to have your exact numbers, okay? You're not going to have your exact numbers. What you're going to be doing is you're going to begin by putting down all of your expenses. And Productive Dentist Academy, we work with docs all the time in our coaching to get your chart of accounts right. Funny story, over the thousands of docs that have been through Productive Dentist Academy over the last 16 years, only 4, maybe 5, have actually run their business on a budget. If you owned a furniture store, you would run a budget. If you owned any business, you would run a business. You would run a budget. You have to know what your expenditures are, so you know what you need to sell or what you need to produce in dentistry. So you would begin by putting down this chart of accounts, and it's fairly standard. We've kind of tweaked it to where we have it right there, and you begin to fill in these bills and that you paid them. Okay. And I'm going to give you examples again. Supply cost, and you break that supply cost down into hygiene supplies, implant supplies. Why? I just want to know how much are my implant supplies costing me as a based on what I'm doing in implants. I also want to know, and this is critical, once I've got every bill that I paid, and the first month you're paying your bills the way you always do. You're not worried about the QuickBooks, but you're going to put them in that they were paid, and they're going to be in a category. They're going to be in this chart of accounts. At the bottom, there's going to be a total. It's going to be a net revenue total based upon what you put in at the top that you actually collected for that month. Now, again, when you first start, you're working in arrears a little bit. You're looking backwards, okay? But you're only going to do that for the first 2 or 3 months, because then you're going to start to see a pattern of expenditures. And at that point in time, you begin to tighten what I call your budget to actual. And there's actually in QuickBooks, there's a budget to actual report that you run. So once you know what your expenditures are, you set budgets for those. So on implant supplies, let's say you're spending 1%, or dental supplies overall 4% or 5%, or lab costs. Maybe you have a CEREC, your lab costs are 6-7%. Maybe you do lots of implant, comprehensive dentistry, and your lab costs are 13%. Doesn't matter what they are right now. You just need to know what they are. It doesn't matter what they are. You just need to know what they are. That sounds a little weird, but the truth is, you're going to start to see this repetitive nature of what's going on. Now, once you've done this for 60 days or 90 days, the interesting thing is you're then going to put your budgets in. So again, I'm going to use the example, there's fixed budget items. It's your rent. You know exactly, that's $1,947.32. So you put that in and you hit a little button, and it fills out your budget all the way across for the rest of the year for that amount. Those are all, and there's a lot of fixed expenses. Your electric bill, you've had an electric bill, you're going to have it. It's going to vary, but you're going to make an estimate. Like in Texas, in the summers, our electric bill would go up about $230, $240. It'd be $230, $240 higher than it would be in the spring and the fall. And in the wintertime, we would have also kind of a boost in our cost. Water bills, all these things you're going to begin to start to predictively analyze. So when I put in my budget for electricity, for instance, I'm using previous months to help guide future months. Does that make sense? Because now, if all of a sudden I see in my budget to actual report, let's look at 2 things that I might see. I like my budget to actual to be within 3 to 5%, or 0 to 5%. one way or the other, either 5% high or 5% low. And if I can tune it in to 4%, 3%, so I want that budget to be something that I can predictively count on. I do this, I did this for 20, 25 years. So you begin to get really good at it. And why do you do that? So you know what you need to produce per hour, per day, per month, however it is you figure it. At Productive Dentist Academy, we recommend, obviously, production per hour is kind of our bell count number that we look at. But when you're doing this and you're going through this process, you're now looking at the bottom line, your net revenue, and you're starting to see that before the month starts, you now know, and we do not have in our chart of accounts, I don't have depreciation, I don't have any of those things that accountants like, because I don't care about that. I'm cash in, cash out, and that's what I'm using this QuickBooks for. We do a class called Driving the Bus. And why do we call it Driving the Bus? I don't know if any of you guys have ever done this, but in my early meetings, as I opened my dental practice, I would be like, okay, here's the deal, guys. You're either on the bus or you're off the bus. If you're not going to listen and do this and do that, you're off the bus. No. Well, what I realized was I didn't even know how to drive the bus. And nobody was going to get on that bus because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. As I learned this stuff, and then I learned how to drive. I learned how to drive the bus. And so that's why we call that course Driving the Bus. Because once you get this down, you can have you're a key person in your office, maybe an office manager, bookkeeper, whatever it is, keep track of this for you. So I would literally spend 0 time on this. I would look at it weekly, daily sometimes. Different than I look at my dental schedule and everything else. I would look at this probably, I would say, once a week. And what happens is when you have something that's budgeted, and I'm going to use an example that's kind of obvious, but let's say your rent is $1,500 or whatever it is. And I looked at my actual for that month is 0. Why is my actual 0? It's my rent. Have we not paid it yet? So now I can go through and look at all of these items and I can say, well, this is blank. I had budgeted for something. So I may have 5 categories that don't have an actual next to that budget. And it's easy for me then to go, I'm going to go to my comptroller is what I called in my office. I go to her and I said, what's this? Oh, well, we didn't get a bill from the lab this month. I'm like, okay, but we still owe them. Right? Call them up, get that bill in here now. And that sounds crazy. Why do I want to pay a bill ahead of time? Well, I want to pay a bill ahead of time because it's in my budget. And I don't want to have to pay 2 bills next month. Or you get a marketing bill in or we didn't. Ordinarily I'm running 8% on marketing and all of a sudden it looks like I'm running 4%. Why did we not get the bills in? Because I want our expenses to be consistent and I want our productivity to be consistent. So that's what predictive analytics is. Next webinar we do, I'm going to talk more on the revenue side, not so much the expenses side. But if you have questions, it's very simple. All you have to do is send them to Bruce at productivedentist.com. You can send them to us at Compassionate Finance. You can do it, however, but I'm more than happy to answer questions. I'm also going to be doing a program on, how do you use compassionate finance in this business arena. So next seminar or next webinar, we will be talking more on the revenue side and how do I predict my revenue and what are the important things that I do to make sure that my revenue stays exactly where I want it to be. And it also allows you to become a much better leader. Because you know what you want, and you can help people help you get there. So that's it. Stephen, what do you got?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think right on. I have more questions dealing with next week because I want to see what happens when life throws you lemons. And if you can make a little lemonade with compassionate finance, possibly reaching into maybe some of those old treatment plans that went, kind of undone. And also what happens when you have somebody, you think they're going to be able to afford the dentistry, they're in the chair, and then they can't, but you want to
Right.
meet the production numbers and you want to do right by the patient. So how can we apply compassionate finance in there to keep us on our predictive path?
And there's no question that is that's kind of the critical thing when you get to see, when you have, for instance, when you have 7,000 in revenue coming in every month because of it, how does that fit into your budget to actual? Do you count it in there? Do you count it as your separate business? There are lots of questions, and there's lots of different ways of doing it. You're only really limited by your imagination. But I would much rather be predictive in my analytics on what's going to happen in the future and know that I'm going to be right than just, flying by the seat of my pants and knowing I got a big debt and I got to find a way to pay it. And this is a way stress levels go down. And you know what happens when stress goes down? Productivity goes up and leadership goes up. And everything about being a dentist becomes more fun. And so for all of you out there that are struggling and just, gosh, how do I do this and how do I do that? Those are the things that, comprehensive finance can help you with. Same with Productive Dentist Academy. We're used to doing it. We've been doing it for years. So you just have to let us know.
Yeah, and one of those feel-good words, especially with predictive analytics, is a nice little column called monthly reoccurring revenue, which is kind of the situation you get in whenever you're doing compassionate finance cases. So that is definitely going to be something to tune in for.
Yeah, well, for any business that's out there, if you can have recurring revenue without increasing sales, then you're winning the game. So we love, and you're always going to increase sales when you're increasing that revenue, but 7,000 becomes 10, 10 becomes 15, 15 becomes 30. And that's stuff you can pretty well count on every month. So that's why we look at it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Baird, and we'll see you next Monday for Outstanding Balance.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.